Right, Shalom, giving all praise and all glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Hakodash. Double honours to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone that will well. And Shalom to you, argument, you pushing this word around the globe in faith and in truth and sincerity. As always, I'd like to start by saying that we are the real Hebrew Israelites. The real Israelites, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Hispanics, Native Americans, West Indians and West Africans predominantly. However, you are going to get Israelites that do look like the other nations because Israel has been scattered amongst all people throughout our various captivities, so as a result we're going to look like all people. However, if your lineage, which is your line by your forefathers, goes back to Abraham, Isaac and Jacob, those three men in the Bible, then you too are an Israelite, no matter what you may look like, because as pertaining to Numbers chapter 1 verse 18, your nationality is determined by the lineage of your forefathers. So I'll say that once again. If the line of your fathers goes back to Abraham, Isaac and Jacob, who is then named Israel, then you too are an Israelite, no matter what you look like. Now, I was just doing some reading, going over a few chapters again, and I remembered something that was very interesting to me when I was waking up to this truth. And one of the things that that really struck me when I first started reading the Bible seriously was some of the laws that are mentioned in the Bible. And I noticed that some of the laws that were observed in the Bible were things that my family were just doing ever since I can remember, although I never really knew why. One prime example is the act of washing our meat before we cook it. Now, something I've noticed is that a lot of Edomites, now for those of you who don't know who the Edomites are predominantly what the world would call white people. You know, Caucasians, Europeans, Americans, so on and so forth. Not all white people are Edomites, but basically the majority of them were cursed with the plague of biblical leprosy because it goes back to their forefather Esau, who was Jacob's twin brother in the Bible, which you can read about in Genesis chapter 25. And going further back beyond that, it goes back to their forefather Cain, who is the brother of Abel, which you can read about, I believe, in Genesis the 4th chapter, I think. It's either Genesis 4 or 5. And Cain was cursed with a mark of leprosy after slaying his brother Abel, which, if you can receive it, was Jacob and Esau in their prior incarnation. Now, my point being is that, even when I was growing up, I always observed that the way that Edomites would prepare their food and their meat was, to me, it was always kind of off, man. Like, I never really used to enjoy eating school dinners and stuff, especially at secondary school. I think I must have only had, going to that canteen maybe 2 or 3 times to actually eat in there. I'd eat the apple pie, but I wouldn't really eat the meat and stuff like that sometimes. But the way Edomites prepare their food is off, and they don't usually season their meat. They don't usually use herbs and spices, but most importantly, they don't wash their meat. You know what I mean? They might go into a shop, a supermarket, buy the meat, bring it home, take it straight out of the packet and slam it straight in the oven. No herbs, no spices, no seasoning, no washing of the meat, no nothing. And they usually tend to eat their meat raw as well. And that also goes back to Genesis, the 25th chapter. Let me get this, man, rather than me just saying it. Yeah, here we go. So let me read this, yeah? Alright, so I'm gonna read all the way on down, starting at Genesis 25 and 20. So this says, and Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah to wife, the daughter of Bethuel, the Syrian of Padanaram, the sister to Laban, the Syrian. And Isaac entreated Yahweh for his wife because she was barren. And Yahweh was entreated of him, and Rebekah his wife conceived. And the children struggled together within her, and he said, and she said, If it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of Yahweh. And Yahweh said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels, and the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. And the first came out red all over like an hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. See, Esau came out red all over like a hairy garment, meaning that his blood showed forth through his skin. Now, let me just get some example for edification's sake, maybe. Yeah, let me get it for edification's sake. I suppose there's a good example of one. I mean, even here's a good one, because you can see the baby's lying on a white sheet. See, here you have an Edomite baby with the curse of leprosy. You see, it's lying on a white sheet, but its skin is red because its blood showing forth through its skin. That's how Esau came out looking in Genesis 25, just so you can see that as an example. So let's get back to the precepts. And the Genesis 25:25, and the first came out red all over like an hairy garment, and they called his name Esau, which in the Hebrew I believe is Isashua, which means wasted away is he, because his skin looks all wasted away. Genesis 25:26, and after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold on Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob. That's our forefather of us Israelites. And Isaac was 60 years old when she bare him, meaning Isaac was 60, because a score is 20. So 3 20s is 60. And the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter, and a man of the field, but Jacob was a plain man dwelling in tents. And Isaac loved Esau because he did eat of his venison, but Rebekah loved Jacob. And Jacob sod pottage, and Esau came in from the field and was faint. And Esau said unto Jacob, feed me, I pray thee, with the same red pottage, meaning that, the meat weren't cooked properly, man. For I am faint, and therefore was his name called Edom. And then the word Edom means red, yeah? And Jacob said, sell to me this day thy birthright. And Esau said, behold, I am at the point to die. What profit shall this birthright do to me? And Jacob said, swear to me this day. And he swore unto him, and he sold his birthright unto Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau bread and pottage of lentils, and he did eat and drink, and rose up and went his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright. Now the point of me bringing this up is because when you read the scriptures and you look at the characteristics, every nation of people has certain characteristics which you can kind of pinpoint who these people are. For example, us being Israelites, you can look at, for example, the curses of Deuteronomy chapter 28, read those curses, and when you ask yourself, okay, who do these curses fit? Which people on the earth seem to have gone through these things? That's how you find out how many of the tribes are on the 12th tribe sign. You know what I mean? You can discern things through the Spirit. Now, through the Spirit, I was thinking about this topic of the preparation of meat. And as I said, when I was growing up, whenever I used to see either my mum or my aunts or my dad or my grandmas or whoever it was preparing meat, they'd always do certain things. And those things are recorded in the scriptures. And I'm going to bring that out right now. So let me get something here. I'm going to go to Exodus, the 29th chapter and the 17th verse. Right, so this is talking about some of the sacrificial offerings that the priesthood of Aaron and his sons would be performing. So this talks about how they're supposed to prepare some of these sacrifices. So it says, Exodus 29, I'm going to read down from 13. And thou shalt take the fat that covereth the inwards, and the caul that is above the liver, and the 2 kidneys, and the fat that is upon them, and burn them upon the altar. But the flesh of the bullock and his skin and his dung shall thou burn with fire without the camp. It is a sin offering, okay? But keep going. It says, thou shalt take one ram, and Aaron and his sons shall put their hands upon the head of the ram, and thou shalt slay the ram, and thou shalt take his blood and sprinkle it about the altar, because we're not supposed to eat blood, which is one of the things that Esau does. When Esau orders his steak rare and all that kind of stuff, the blood is still within the meat. But I'm going to get the precept on the blood in a minute, but let me just keep reading. And it says, thou shalt cut the ram in pieces, and here's the point, Exodus 29:17. And thou shalt cut the ram in pieces, and wash the inwards of him, and his legs, and put them unto his pieces, and unto his head. And thou shalt burn the whole ram upon the altar, for it is a burnt offering unto Yahweh, and it is a sweet savour, an offering made by fire unto Yahweh. But my point is, it says, you're supposed to wash the meat in its innards. And that's something that I always observed my family doing when I was growing up, which is something that most Edomites do not do. Now, let me just quickly get the one on how you shouldn't eat blood. Let me get that, because this is what a lot of Esau's do, a lot of Edomites do. They consume the meat with the blood still in. This is Genesis the 9th chapter. Genesis 9:4. This is what Yahweh said unto Noah after he came off the ark, after the great flood. It says, let me start from Genesis 9:3. No, it's 9:2. Now this is a cold cut to you vegans out there. Not saying that being a vegan is a bad thing. If you don't want to eat meat, that's fine. However, it is within our dietary law that we can consume meat. Furthermore, if you're an Israelite, it's an actual commandment that you have to eat meat at least once a year on the Passover, point blank period. So this whole veganism bullshit is exactly that. It's just bullshit. So let's get into it. It says Genesis 9:2, and the fear of you and the dread of you shall be upon every beast of the earth, and upon every fowl of the air, upon all that moveth upon the earth, and upon all the fishes of the sea. Into your hand are they delivered. Every moving thing that liveth shall be meat for you, even as the green herb I have given you all things. Now that doesn't mean that you can eat any animal under the sun, because there is dietary laws. Like, for example, we can't eat camel. You don't eat camel meat. You don't eat horse meat. You don't eat swine's flesh. You don't eat prawns, crabs, shrimps, lobsters, things like that. Those are not in our dietary law. You don't eat rabbits. You don't eat mice. But there are animals that you can eat. For example, you can eat beef, you can eat venison, you can eat chicken, you can eat fish, you can eat what else can you eat? There's a great many things. Locusts. John the Baptist was eating locusts and wild honey in the wilderness. But there's basically laws of things that you can and you can't eat. So let me read this again. It goes, and every moving thing that liveth shall be meat for you, even as the green herb I have given you all things. Here's the point, Genesis 9:4. But the flesh with the life thereof, which is the blood thereof, shall ye not eat. So, you know what I mean? As an Israelite, you're not supposed to be consuming meat with blood in it. And I've never been one who's into eating steaks anyway. I don't like steaks very much. But I remember I always used to observe, like when you used to watch these cooking programs on TV, you see these people cooking the meat, cooking the beef, steak, and then they hardly cook it. They just burn the outside of it and the inside's all pink. And then when they cut the knife into it, you saw all this blood running out on the plate. And they say, oh, it's nice and juicy. Look at that. And I mean, my mum always used to laugh at that shit and be like, these people are nasty, man. And I always used to think it was off as well. And eating shit like black pudding and crap like that. Nah, we never dealt with that in my household, Eating blood is off. But that's what these Edomites like to do. Now I'm going to play a couple quick videos. First one's on YouTube here, because I was just looking at this. Now, as I say, as Israelites in my family, you always wash the meat before you prepare it. We use herbs and seasonings and shit. Esau don't do that. As I say, Esau's the kind of guy or woman who goes straight to the shop, buy their chicken or their lamb or whatever, straight out the packet, on a tray, straight in the oven. That's it. That's how they deal. So let's watch this little video clip here and see, because I remember some years back, Esau even tried to make it a law that you're not supposed to wash your chicken. And I remember looking at this shit thinking, what? How the hell are you not supposed to wash chicken before you cook it, man? But they come out trying to say that, oh, you know, you shouldn't be washing chicken because you spread germs and all this shit. But if you do it right, you don't do that. You know, you get a little bit of lemon or some vinegar, put the chicken in a bowl, and you wash it with the vinegar or the lemon or whatever it is you've got. You don't go like turning the tap on like you're giving the chicken a shower or some shit, which is what these Edomites are doing in this video. So let me just play this. Now I'll get some more precepts.
Many consumers think that you should wash your chicken before you cook it. Is that a safe practice?
From a food safety standpoint, it's a bad idea because we can potentially spread any bacteria that may be on the surfaces of, in this case, our chicken item to all other areas of our preparation area, cutting boards, sink, countertops, pans, etc. And we can potentially make that food safety hazard even worse. If we aren't sure what the pressures in our sink are, you can see that just simply splattering juices everywhere is not...
What a dumbass. Now the scriptures say that Esau is the basest of men. And he's saying, oh, if you don't know the pressure of your tap, you can turn it on and you can splash water everywhere. What kind of fucking moron, man? Oh, let me just get one precept. Slakia. Bear with me. Just looking for one precept here. Yeah, Job 30 and 8. Let me just quickly jump to that. Get it on the screen. Yeah. This is Job 30 and 8. They are children of fools, yea, children of base men, and they were viler than the earth. So this has got to be a downfall right here. Let me get some more, because there's some edification in this, man. It says, Job 30 and 1. But now they that are younger than I have me in derision, whose fathers I would have disdained to have sat with the dogs of my flock. Yea, whereto might the strength of their hands profit me, in whom old age was perished? For want and famine they were solitary, fleeing into the wilderness in former time, desolate and waste, who cut up mallows by the bushes, and juniper roots for their meat. They are driven forth from among men, they cried after them as a thief, to dwell in the cliffs of the valleys, and in the caves of the earth, and in the rocks. Among the bushes they brayed, under the nettles they were gathered together. They were children of fools, yea, children of base men, and they were viler than the earth. So these people, these Edomites, these are the original cavemen, man, because they were driven into the caves, and they behaved like that, you know, grunting and all this kind of stuff. Among the nettles they brayed, you know, because the Most High put them in that state for a period of time, you know. But let's get back into this.
A good practice. In fact, some chicken, as we purchased it, has a lot of the giblets still left inside, and we could be splattering and spreading any bacteria that may be on this item all over our preparation area.
Well, what if I'm really careful? I mean, isn't there a way to contain it, or if I use a colander or something like that?
Even then, it's not a good idea because bacteria can sometimes be so tightly attached to surfaces that even washing it is still not going to get rid of it. There are better ways to go about making sure that the meat that you prepare for your family is safe.
What do you do in your own home to transfer it to a pan and make sure that you're not splattering the juice?
I like to start by simply just making a small cut or tear in the corner of the package.
Oh yeah, I can see the juices coming out right now.
And then we can just simply pour those into the sink slowly so that we're not splattering any of the juices anywhere. So now that I have that drained, for the most part, I can simply set it on a tray or a pan and finish opening that package either with scissors or knife. And I just want to open it just enough. I can tear the rest of the package with my fingers and slowly pull that out of the package. And as you can see, there's still some juice left in the package that I want to make sure that I contain and slowly empty into the sink, and then finish washing the sink out in that preparation area to make sure that I'm not further spreading any germs or bacteria in my preparation area.
So if you're concerned that there are bacteria on your meat or poultry, do you just put it directly in the oven?
Actually, yes. Cooking is still by far the best and safest way to make sure that you...
So if you're concerned that there are bacteria on your meat or poultry, do you just put it directly in the oven?
Actually, yes. Cooking is still by far the best and safest way to make sure that you prepare a nice, safe, wholesome meal for your family. There are many other aspects of cooking that we need to consider. For example, using a meat thermometer when we are cooking to make sure that we are ensuring proper cooking temperatures. Chicken, as we know, should be cooked to an internal temperature of 165 degrees Fahrenheit. Our ground meats should be cooked to at least a minimum temperature of 160 degrees Fahrenheit. And then even lower temperatures for our whole muscle cuts, things like steaks, roast, and other whole muscle items can be cooked to a minimum temperature of 145 degrees Fahrenheit, as long as we hold that item for about 3 minutes to have a rest time prior to slicing and serving.
Is this really a common practice? Do a lot of consumers wash their chicken?
So unfortunately, there's still a lot of consumers out there, my mother included, who simply believe that washing our meat items is still a safe practice. In fact, Drexel University and Jennifer Quinlan, along with New Mexico State University, have actually dedicated a website called Don't Wash Your Chicken, in which they spent a lot of time educating consumers on the fact that this is not a safe food practice for preparation in our homes.
So it sounds like cooking is the best thing to do to make sure bacteria are destroyed.
Cooking is obviously the best and safest way to make sure that we have that safe and wholesome product for our families.
That's straight up bullshit, man. Straight up bullshit, because as I say, for generations, and my family has been doing this practice. My mum, my grandmothers, my aunts, my great grandmothers, they were doing this. Ain't none of us dropped dead from food poisoning yet. In fact, I never had food poisoning in my life. All thanks to Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. Hopefully I don't ever get it. But I'm going to go into the Bible, because fuck what Esau says, man. There you've got an Edomite standing there. First and foremost, he's got no beard on his face anyway, so what does he know about anything? Man's supposed to have a beard on his face if he can. But let's get some of the scriptures, because we've got to go by what the Bible says. So let's go back to the institution of the Passover, which is in, let me see, Exodus the 12th chapter. Start from 12 and about 6. So, let me get this here. Exodus 12 and 3, start from 3. Speak ye unto all the congregation of Israel, saying, in the 10th day of this month they shall take to them every man a lamb, according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for an house. And if the household be too little for the lamb, let him and his neighbour next to his house take it according to the number of the souls. Every man according to his eating shall you make count for the lamb. Your lamb shall be without blemish, a male of the first year, and you shall take it out from the sheep or from the goats. And you shall keep it up until the 14th day of the same month, and the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening. And they shall take the blood and strike it upon the 2 side posts of the upper door of the posts of the houses wherein they shall eat it. And they shall eat the flesh in the night. Here's the point: roast it with fire and unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs they shall eat it. Here's another point, Exodus 12:9. Eat not of it raw, nor sodden it all with water, but roast it with fire, his head and his legs, and with the purtenance thereof. And you shall let nothing of it remain until the morning, and that which remaineth of it until the morning you shall burn with fire. Now the point I want to make is in verse 9. It says, "Eat not of it raw, nor sodden at all with water, but roast it with fire," which means you're not supposed to boil the lamb on the Passover. You're supposed to roast it with fire. Now, some simple people might look at that and say, "Oh, but you're not supposed to have it sodden at all with water, which means you're not supposed to wash it." So let's get some more understanding, because that's not what it means. If we go to the blue letter here, the word for let me get back in here. Going to Exodus 12:9, interlinear. So the word we're looking for says, "Eat not of it raw nor sodden." The word for sodden is bashal. It's in Strong's H1310. Get that?
Strong's H1310. Bashal.
So let's go into it.
And the form.
So Strong's H 1309, 1309. It says bashal, and it means to boil, cook, bake, roast, ripen, grow, ripe. See? So it means you're not supposed to boil your lamb on the Passover, yeah? To boil, cook, to boil, to be boiled, to be sodden, yeah? So that doesn't mean you're not supposed to wash your meat, you know? You're supposed to wash it and roast it. So let me go back to the original scripture I was holding. Let's see. Exodus 29:17. Yeah. "And thou shalt cut the ram in pieces, and wash the inwards of him and his legs, and put them in pieces unto his head. And thou shalt burn the whole ram upon its altar. It is a burnt offering unto Yahweh. It is the sweet savour, an offering made by fire unto the Lord." So it's in our customs to do this type of stuff, because we are the people of this book. Now, to further go into this point, some years ago when I had a woman, she was from the tribe of Issachar, which is Mexico. And I went and I spent some time out there in the land of Issachar, Mexico, and I was staying with her family. And the way that they used to prepare their food, it was uncanny, the similarities between the way that, say, for example, my mother would prepare food and the way that her mother prepared food. It was almost like I was eating food from the same person. I thought, whoa, the similarities are uncanny, and it goes to show that we are the same people. You know what I mean? You know, obviously me being Southern Kingdom and being Northern Kingdom, but you know, when you look at the way these people eat, for example, if you go into a shop out there in Mexico, you're not going to find bread. All you're going to find is tortillas, be it with corn or be it with flour. Now, when you really break it down, tortillas are a form of unleavened bread. I mean, if you eat the corn ones, there's no leaven in it. And that's what they eat out there. They don't generally have, like, you know, what they would have in, like, you know, rolls and buns and things like that. They generally have tortillas with everything. Again, showing that these are the people of the scriptures. And that's this, me doing this video, this is one of the things, like, when I was reading the law of, you know, Exodus, the first 5 books of Moses, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. I was reading these laws, I was thinking, hang on a minute, this feels so much like what some of the customs that my family have, even without me knowing that we were, and even without me initially knowing that we were Israelites, you know. So this is what, you know, when you read the Bible, some people say, oh, the Bible's the white man's book, this, that, and the other. But when you really break it down and you get into the scriptures and you understand what's being said, you start to realize, hang on a minute, this can't be talking about Edomites, because Edomite spirits are adverse to all of the laws of the Bible. You know, they're completely adverse to it. So how can they be the people of the book? Because the book wasn't theirs, it was ours. It's our history, our testimonies, our heritage. So let me see what else I want to bring out. Let me get this. So one brother from the camp sent me this video, and it made me laugh because I thought, you know what, man, this is so true. But here's a great example of the way the Edomites prepare their food. Let me just play this.
That's great. Welcome back. You're watching Cooking with Sue and Tim with me, Sue.
And me, Olawafemi, because Tim's got the flu at the moment.
Get well soon, Tim.
Now, before the break, we cooked some lovely traditional jerk chicken.
But now it's time for a special treat as we learn how to prepare white people chicken.
White people chicken. So underrated.
So, we have our chicken here, and the first thing we're going to do is take our herbs and spices and pop them in the cupboard.
Yeah, we won't be needing those.
And then we take our chicken and we put it in the oven.
So, to recap, to cook your white people chicken, put the chicken in the oven.
And there we have it. Isn't it glorious?
It is, Sue. So beige.
Exactly. Lovely and beige.
The beiger, the better.
Shall we tuck in?
Yes, please. Indeed.
You know what's really great? I can just really taste the chicken.
Exactly. There's no pesky herbs or spices or flavour getting in the way.
I hope this doesn't sound strange, but I imagine this is what...
You see, that's the thing, man. They don't deal with herbs and spices. They don't do it. They ain't got no salt, man. Let me get that one for we are the salt of the earth. It's a funny one to get. Matthew's 5:13. And let me get back into... This is Yahushua speaking. He says, "Ye are the salt of the earth. But if the salt have lost its savour, wherewith shall it be salted? It is therefore good for nothing, but to be cast out and trodden under the foot of men." So what I'm trying to say is that Edomites ain't got it, man, when it comes to doing things with salt and flavour and style and stuff like that. So in this instance, I'm talking about cooking. Yeah, you know, you watch all the where I'm at in the world, you see all these Edomite cooking programs, and it's like watching a horror film, man. You know, when you watch like Nigella Lawson and stuff, to me it's like watching a horror film because it's pure abominations that they're doing, and it's just craziness. You know, I wouldn't like to eat from these people, but yet these people are revered, you know, as great chefs and stuff like that. Now, I'm not saying I'm a great cook or that, but you know, the fundamental things, you know, washing your meat, putting seasoning on it and all that kind of stuff, man, these are just fundamental things that Jake generally tends to do. What else do I want to bring out? No, I think I've made the point. So the point being that, yeah, when you look at the dietary laws, or generally the laws of the Bible, and you start to really think to yourself, which types of people are doing these things? You know, for example, if you look at a lot of Moabite cuisine, for those of you who don't know, Moabites are the so-called Chinese. A lot of their dishes involve, well, obviously Jake in the world eats pork anyway, but according to our laws, statutes and commandments, we're not supposed to be eating pork. But you know, out there, those Moabites, they eat black pig, they eat squid, they eat octopus, they eat bats, they eat all kinds of things that are off according to the dietary laws. But yeah, us being Israelites, we're supposed to keep the law, statutes and commandments of the scriptures. So, you know, if pig's on your menu, you need to be throwing that swine out, man. Now, I know a lot of Christians will say, oh, we're allowed to eat pork and stuff, but no. You know, there's accounts of a man named Eliezer in the Apocrypha who refused to eat swine's flesh, and they tortured him. And they done that to, I think, 5 brothers. Was it 5 brothers as well? So, like, let me try and find my Apocrypha. Bear with me. Let me just find this. Yeah. This is 2 Maccabees 6 and 18. Let me read this account. And this is going to be a cold cut for you Christians who say, oh, we can eat pork. 2 Maccabees 6:18. Eleazar, one of the principal scribes, an aged man and well-favored countenance, was constrained to open his mouth to eat swine's flesh. So they basically held him down saying, look man, eat this pork, yeah? But choosing rather to die gloriously than to live stained with such an abomination, spit it forth, and came of his own accord to the torment. As it behooved them to come that are resolute to stand out against such things as are not lawful for love or life to be tasted. But they that had charge of the wicked feast, for old acquaintance they had with the man, taking him aside, besought him to bring flesh of his own provision, such as it was lawful for him to use, and to make as if he did eat of the flesh taken from the sacrifice commanded by the king. So what these guys are basically doing, they took him aside and say, look man, we're going to give you a little way out, man. We'll put some like chicken or some lamb or whatever on the plate, which is lawful for you to eat, but we want you to eat it in front of people and as if you're eating swine's flesh, in order that they will be led astray, because otherwise the king says he's going to kill you. So that in doing so he might be delivered from death, for the old friendship with them find favour. But he began to consider discreetly, as it became his age and the excellency of his ancient years and the honour of his grey head, whereon was come, and his most honest education from a child, or rather the holy law made given by the Most High. Therefore he answered accordingly, and ruled them straightways to send him to the grave. For it becometh not our age, said he, in any wise to dissemble, whereby many young persons might think that Eleazar, being 80 years old, meaning 80, and 10 or 90, were now gone unto a strange religion, and that so through mine hypocrisy and desire to live a little time and a moment longer should be deceived by me, and I get a stain to my old age and make it abominable. For though the present time I should be delivered from the punishment of men, yet should I not escape the hand of the Almighty, neither alive nor dead. Wherefore now, manfully challenging this life, I will shew myself as one as mine age requireth, and leave a notable example, such as to be young to die willingly and courageously for the honourable and holy laws. And when he had said these words, immediately he went to the torment. They that led him, changing the goodwill they bare him a little before into hatred, because of the foresaid speeches proceeded, as they thought, from a desperate mind. But when he was ready to die with stripes, he groaned and said, It is manifest unto the Most High that hath the holy knowledge, that whereas I might have been delivered from death, I now endure sore pains in body by being beaten, but in soul am well content to suffer these things, because I fear him. And thus this man died, leaving in his death an example of a noble courage and a memorial of virtue, not only to young men, but unto all his nation. So that's a cold cut for you Christians who want to be cooking and eating pork in this wicked and sinful generation and trying to twist the law to say that, oh, the law's done away with, we can do this, we can do that. Nah. Who can make an unclean thing clean? No one. You know, the Most High made the swine unclean. Leave that shit alone, man. You don't need to eat it. You know, you're listening to the desires of your flesh by having that addiction to swine's flesh. You need to put all that off, man. But, you know, I could do a whole lesson on that. But I think I made a point, you know. So with that, giving all praise and all glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Hakodash. Double honors to the elders and apostles, a great millstone that rule well. Shalom to you, Arkin, pushing this word around the globe in faith and in truth and sincerity. And until the next lesson, I'll say Shalom, Wa Abba Babal, Wa Kwam Yasharala. Shalom.